welcome back to another video. Today I am so excited to introduce to you guys Jen of Nectar and Bloom. She's an awesome florist here in Southern California. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody, what you're all about, how you got started, why you love working with flowers.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, Cavin.
Yeah.
Nectar and Bloom is a boutique floral design studio here in San Diego, and I actually came from a career as an academic and as a professor of literature and writing. I have my master's degree in creative writing and poetry, and in that academic career I kind of found myself realizing that I really wanted a tangible creative outlet. I really wanted to be my own boss. I really wanted to build something my own.
Right.
So even though I loved my students, I loved the creative aspect of that career, I was really missing something that I was in charge of, and that was something where I could actually physically create. So when I discovered the wedding industry at my own wedding with my husband, I just met all these incredible business owners and vendors who really inspired me, and I thought, I can do this. And I've always, in a hilarious way, had flowers in my life and in my experience. I grew up on an organic vegetable farm. My sister and I had a flower business on the side growing up in the Midwest, which I never thought would be part of my life. But it kind of all started to come together as life does. So those are some beginning aspects of it.
Yeah, and then when it comes to your wedding work, where do you service? Are you available just in Southern California? Do you travel? Tell them where you serve in case they want to hire you.
Sure. We're a lot in Southern California, but happy to travel.
Okay.
It's really a wonderful freedom to have, and there are flowers everywhere, and we love to do that. So.
Very cool. And then where can everybody find you on Instagram, your social media? Where are your favorite places to send people?
Sure. We're very active on Instagram. Mainly my immediate portfolio is there. It's at nectar_and_bloom.
Okay.
And we are at nectarandbloomfloral.com.
Okay.
And yeah, those are the main two. We're on Pinterest too. It's all just Nectar and Bloom.
Yeah, perfect. Easy. So I will link that in the description down below so you guys can go check out all of her channels. Why do you feel that flowers are so important to the overall look and experience of a wedding day?
Great question. So for me, flowers are really the element that transforms a space. They're really the thing that takes a venue or a residence or an estate or a location and changes it from what it always is into something that tells the story of the people who gather there. Yeah. So as a storyteller and as a florist, I think with this very tangible, physical, sensory medium, it gets to shape and color and give a whole mood and atmosphere to that space.
I love that. And so what do you feel that impact has on a bride and groom's photos?
Great. Yeah. So because flowers are this kind of miracle of nature, there's something that really brings this spirited and emotional element, this really authentic element. It's something that their beauty is in their ephemeral state, right? Yeah. They're mortal. They're going to pass. But there's such a flourishing moment of nature, and that lives forever in your photos. Yeah. That is something that is completely timeless in how they're preserved in your photos that you get to see and remember.
So what would you tell brides, the benefit that they're going to get and what they're going to get out of working with a floral designer, maybe as opposed to, some sort of you go pick them up from a little shop, or, there hasn't been this kind of hand in the design in the flowers?
I think that's one of the most important things to consider, first of all, when you're thinking about wedding florals, is how important are florals to me? How important, how much is that meaningful, authentic, and very personalized aspect of the sensory experience of the wedding. Yeah. If you're a person who's you know what, it's all about the band and the bar or whatever, then flowers aren't that important. Pick them up from somewhere. Don't make a big deal of it. But if flowers and that kind of artistic, authentic, emotional expansiveness is important, I think that's so huge to consider hiring a floral designer who has their own studio, who has a brand that they've built, who works with different clients to really in their own way, tell the client's story.
Yeah, I love that. So when a bride is reaching out to florists, or you in particular, what do you want her to know before she even emails you? What are the main things that they should have in mind before contacting florist?
So I think the main things here would be to have a sense of how important florals are to you, of course. It also really helps to have a look around. Whether or not you're working with a planner, they can give you referrals. You can look through different people's work or search Instagram, search hashtags, but look at different floral designers and their work to get a sense of what is your style. It's also helpful, but don't do it too much or get too attached to it, to find inspiration photos.
Yeah.
Because I think we'll talk about that a little later.
For sure.
But that will give the person that you're speaking to, that will give me the sense of what you are looking for stylistically, which helps me start to design something for you.
So if a bride reaches out to you and she shows you a bunch of inspiration of really tight ball-shaped floral arrangements, are you going to take that and say, clearly this is not my style, and kind of pass them to someone better? Or do you like to adapt, or kind of how do you feel about that process?
Floral designers, we definitely have a style. It's like our own artistic voice. We're going to tell your story in that voice, but it really is kind of specific to the brand. So I think it's really wise to have those inspiration photos, and if someone did come to me with really tight balls of flowers, it's not really my style, it's more loose and lush, I might let them know, what if we could do something like this if they really, really want to work with me, or discuss why they really want to work with me. And then if it was really just not a good fit, I think it's really important to be able to be honest about that, and I'd be happy to refer others who might be a better fit.
Sure. So when it comes to budget, I know that that's a really big thing that affects the flowers. And so a bride with $2,000 floral budget is going to have a very different floral look than a bride with a $10,000 floral budget. So when a bride is reaching out to you, how important is it to you that they have at least a range, a budget range to work with, some sort of number? Because what would happen if a bride came to you and was like, I don't have any idea what my budget is? Like, how do you work with that, and should they have their budget first?
Initially, what I would love to always have, and what I talk with my clients about to make sure that we can suss out and be open about, is like a general starting point. Like, this is what you as a client are comfortable allocating to florals. It may be a starting point, we may add to it, but it's something that we have agreed upon that this feels comfortable in the overall scheme. If a client doesn't know at all, has no idea, one of the kind of rule of thumbs, which all rules of thumb have many exceptions, but a general idea is maybe 12 to 15% of your overall budget. If flowers are really important to you and you want like big installations and big impact, it's going to be more. If flowers are not so important to you, you might be looking at more like a flower shop that you can just, it's not so designer. So that's a range too. And then if you have a planner, they're really helpful with that as well. If you give me a sense of what you're looking for, I can give you a sense of what we could create within it. I can look at, we can, from our consultation, talk about what kind of vision we're developing, what kind of items you want within that, what kind of impact style, all that. And then within that, we can say, okay, well, within this kind of budget range, we could create this. If we have no budget, then we risk wasting a lot of time, where I might create a quote that's way out of budget, or something that's way not on point. So it's just like the stylistic details, it's a really important element for getting started.
A bride shouldn't be worried that the florist is going to try to take advantage of their budget. They're simply going to show you what you can get for that budget. And then if you all of a sudden are like, no, that's too much, you can always take away before hiring, you know, as long as you meet the minimum. So it's all about, you know, creating something totally custom for flowers.
And that brings up the idea of process, which I always emphasize to my clients, like, this is a creative process, and it's in a world that you've never done before. And so we, as your vendors, are here to be a guide. I am here to be a guide to help in that process. And it's okay that it's a process. We don't just like nail a number, nail a design, and that's it. Even after booking, we still have another design meeting to continue to develop that vision as the other parts come together. It's an entire thing.
I know that the word proposal gets thrown around a lot, and as a bride, somebody new to the wedding world, they might not know exactly what a proposal is, how it's made, what it looks like, what the point of it is. So can you talk a little bit about, after a bride inquires with you and she shows you inspiration, which we'll get to a little bit more in a minute, what happens from there?
After your initial inquiry, we send a Q&A and we set up a consultation. After that consultation together, then we have kind of a better design concept. So after that is when the proposal comes to you. And it's called a proposal because it's really like an offer. This is an idea of the vision we talked about. This is an idea of how much it would cost and what each piece is. Ours includes a mood board, because I want, you know, even as a person of words and as someone who used to teach English and literature, images speak 1,000 words. They really do. And it is something that's a universal language. Peach to me might not be peach to you.
Exactly.
Romantic to me might not be romantic to you. All these different stylistic terms. And as you brought up, there's certain terms that are thrown around in the wedding industry, like proposal and strike and pops of color and all these things. So it's a way with the mood board to be able to see what exactly we're talking about outside of the specifics of words. Then you also have kind of the itemized listing of these are the things that you have requested and how I'm envisioning them for you, what those would cost. Even after that initial proposal, we have a follow-up consultation. Let's talk through that proposal together. Where are your reservations? What do you think you might want to take out, add, anything like that? Once we love it, then the booking is just the deposit and the signed agreement.
So say in the proposal, there's back and forth. How much back and forth will you allow before you kind of say, we need to make a decision on hiring yes or no? Because obviously proposals and reworking the proposal takes a lot of time. When do you cut them off? How much back and forth is appropriate?
At a certain point, I'll let the clients know, like, you know, take your time reviewing the proposal after we've talked about it. Let's have a meeting where we go through the whole thing and talk about changes we might want to make. But after that, it's really like all of these changes can be made after booking. Your real decision is just, do I feel good about this person? Do I love their style? Do I want to work with them? And that's it.
You can get everything set now in terms of who you've booked. Make sure you love their work, you feel good about their personality, and then know that you don't have to work on it like crazy until later on down the road. Maybe your vision might change anyway, or maybe your color palette gets tweaked a little bit. So don't stress about making everything finished right off the bat. So you guys have tons of time. Some brides might not know what a mock-up is, but I would love for you to explain what it is, and if you think that they're good, or if you feel like some brides don't need them, but there are certain cases where it is needed, like I would love for you to talk all about the mock-ups.
Yes, so mock-up really means, it kind of comes from the art world, but it's basically a chance to see what this looks like. It's usually for one of the reception tables. So it will be, we don't really do like a mock-up of like ceremony art because it would be really extensive and expensive. But it's usually like one of the reception tables. And the benefits to it are, it gives the client, the bride and groom or the couple, and the florist and the designer or the wedding planner, and even the catering or the venue, a chance to kind of bring these elements together. It also gives us a chance to talk in person, have this kind of cool collaborative session where we bring the florals, often the candles, the tablescape, and often the planner will bring the dishware and the other place setting materials, and sometimes chairs, and we'll have the rental company involved sometimes if there's specific tables, but it's a chance to kind of see that, move things around, get a feel for it. Do we really like this? Are there tweaks we could make? So those are the benefits. You get everyone together, you kind of get to see what we have in mind, you get to be in there physically, move things around. The drawbacks to it are, it's usually done more than a month out, right? Because a month out is when we need to really finalize your order and place the order so that our wholesalers and the farms that they work with can get those flowers on order and be on time. So it needs to be like 6 weeks out minimum. The problem with that is 6 weeks out may not be the same floral varieties that are available 6 weeks later. So we may make something for you that's the right feel and style and look, but it won't actually be the exact flower varieties necessarily. The other drawback is it's kind of expensive. So because flowers must be bought in bulk, I can't, as a designer, go to the market and buy just enough for one centerpiece. I have to buy whole packages of each style of flowers, so it's a little bit expensive for the client to make sure that those costs are covered. It's something that we talk about during the design meetings. Is this something that we want to schedule? We'll work with your planner if you do, things like that. So it can be done. It's not guaranteed, and it's something that we'll talk about up front based on the design, what this will cost to do. I'd say if a bride's very visual, likes to see things, if you're very tactile and you want to see your vendors moving things around and setting up a tablescape, or if you have a very complex wedding. So are there a lot of vendors and elements? Are there a lot of color schemes? Are there different color palettes throughout the event? Are there different feels or styles throughout the event? So that might be something where fine-tuning by seeing in a mock-up and getting to do it would help make that a little more clear and a little more on the ground for a client.
What kind of budget threshold, like your brides have a $6,000-8,000 budget, do you start like having the mock-ups happen more often?
You know, that's a good question. I would say probably upwards of $5,000. But it does depend. If someone really wants to get their hands on it or see it, we can make it work. We'll just let them know the prices. It's basically like an a la carte item. Average cost, and this is just again to bring the flowers in it, and it's kind of complementary, the design work and the labor and things that go into it is about $250.
Okay.
That's kind of the starting point. If it's a very elaborate or very extensive tablescape, it might be a little bit more.
Okay.
But that's kind of the general bottom line.
Gotcha.
That way, even if you have a simple tablescape, again, we can't buy the product in a small quantity, and we're still making these trips and transportation and labor.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
So which is, it's our joy and it's our work to do, but it does mean there needs to be kind of a baseline cost for it.
Sure. What would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that maybe brides make with flowers, or mistakes that you help thwart, you know, with your advice and your knowledge? I always like to tell people certain things that are common things that happen that you really wouldn't want, or things that go wrong. What are the things you see, and what are the things you've prevented?
Very important to consider where and when is your wedding.
Yes.
And that's really a huge part of the conversation for me with my clients.
Yes.
One mistake would be, oh, we really have to have garden roses, and we're going to be in Palm Springs on June 28th. You know, I'm like, it's going to be 100 degrees at 7 in the morning. So, you know, just being aware of that, it can be like, we can have garden roses, but it's going to be very expensive to keep them and have enough that we can replace them to keep them looking alive, just because there's such a beautiful, delicate heirloom type of flower that does not like the heat. Whereas if we go for more heat-resistant flowers, which can be very beautiful, this is where you get to enjoy and rely on the professional relationship you have with me.
Listen to their advice.
Yes, which I'm so happy to give. I can be like, let's go with these varieties. They're in our palette. They're in our style. You don't have to worry about that so much, but just know that that's a big part of it. And that is a common mistake to avoid, is not really considering what we want for where and when we're having it.
How do you feel, on a more positive way, that flowers impact photography?
Yes, well, I want to answer that. I just want to say one thing to what you were saying before, is just that it is really a big piece of it is your floral designer's job to bring product that will hold up the best it can. And it does mean trusting us, trust me, to come up with what is going to look great for that, even if it's not what you wish we could have. If, again, there's extreme weather elements. And we're talking a lot about heat because of where we are. But then the second part of that is, just because flowers are perishable, I always tell my clients, any carried or held flowers, make sure that they stay, if it's a crown or a boutonniere, they're meant to stay in a cool place until they need to be worn and photographed. And for bouquets, the best way to make them last longer is to remember to put them back in water.
I would love for you to explain to everybody that there is a right way to hold the bouquet in pictures.
Yes, so there are several ways, but I do know, even myself as a bride before I was in this industry, I had no idea how to hold a bouquet. I love flowers. I knew I loved holding them, but I didn't know how. One of the most common things is to hold it too high. So make sure you lower your arms more than you think you should. Hold your bouquet low. That gives you a chance to have your whole upper body, your hair, your face. You're not hiding and looking tense. You want to look relaxed and elegant. Your bouquet, to me, is like this poem of you. It is the reflection of your beauty. It is the amplification of your love. It's just this really beautiful symbol, and you want to be able to enjoy it. So arms low. It's best to tilt the stems toward your body a little bit more. Holding it upright is a sort of, I don't know, it may be more of a stylistic thing, but I always advise against it. It makes your bouquet look like a little umbrella. Instead of tilting it a little towards you, it feels like a spilling meadow. It feels like something that's more natural. It photographs better without these stems, which should be, you know, tidy and fine to see, but it looks better.
It does.
You can also cradle in your arm, depending when you're getting your portraits. You can hold out to the side, just tilt your wrist up. It's a little bit of a wrist workout, but I'm sure you're directing brides with this a lot. But tilt your wrist so that the bouquet is looking up a little bit more, or is like facing up if it's a long shot of the whole body. So I always give kind of a bouquet handling one-on-one or 101 for my clients.
That's good. I feel like not enough florists do that. A lot of times they're not around to do it. I know whenever I work with Taya from Compass Floral, she always comes in, even though she knows that I'm going to tell them how to hold it, she'll still tell them anyway, which is great, because hearing it from two places is lovely. But I have noticed a lot of florists won't tell the bride and bridesmaids how to hold it, and a lot of photographers also won't look out for that. I'm really big on that. And again, with the stems, like, yes, they're there, but the stems aren't what you're paying for. The stems aren't the beautiful part of it 9 times out of 10. So you do want to see a little bit more of the flowers. The flowers are the real beauty of it. If you are looking for more of that full service floral design and somebody to come to the bridal room and work through everything with you and show you, then that's something you need to keep in mind too. And you know, you're probably not going to get that with a super new florist or with a really, really tiny budget. So that's just something I would say. But is there anything that you would like to let them know before we end the video?
When you're choosing your vendors, if it is important to you, again, to have a really authentic experience, a really beautiful and kind of art-focused look in whatever style that takes, pay attention to the vendors and how they handle details, how they handle the cooperation or the collaboration with other vendors, and how they kind of overview your wedding celebration, because it's really our job, and those of us who value that really love it, to be able to give whole heart to it, and to be able to give our best work, and to be able to give our best offering, so that what you experience the day of and come away with for the rest of your life is a set of really amazing memories and photographs.
Oh, well, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
Again, I am going to link all of her information down below in the comments in case you guys want to go check out her stuff, which you totally should. Her Instagram is amazing. She also does yoga, and she's got killer abs too.
You're so sweet.
I'm a fan. Anyways, guys, I will see you next time. Bye.